Knock it off. No. I gave puppy food. Chew on that. Hi, Brad.
Hey. Hello. So did Chris tell you that you have to like help me?
Oh, do I?
Well, because I'm on a phone, I can only see 4 people at once. So if somebody wants in, I'll miss it.
Oh, yeah. I do that anyways. Just as far
Okay.
as like letting people into the meeting and stuff like that.
Okay.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hello.
Good evening. Income index property tax, huh? Brad, can you hear me?
I could just barely hear you. I don't know what's going on with my thing. It's not giving me good volume. Maybe I'm deaf.
Uh-oh.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Ian.
Hey, Stephen. You can't sigh this early, Brad. We haven't even criticized your moderating skills yet.
Well, I wouldn't like hold up on that. There's plenty of time to get going with it.
All right.
I mean,
And
I could
Annika,
start it.
because- Oh, I was just about to say to Annika, because Chris isn't here, I'm just going to elbow you from a distance.
We can have a Moderator of the Year award.
Absolutely. I nominate Brad.
We're, we're going to do fiscal years. They start on the 8th of July. They end on the 8th of July.
Don't really want to have a video of it.
Hey, Katie.
Hi, I am here. I'm in Veneta, and so I'm driving home. I'll listen in.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Drive safe.
I will. No.
Oh.
Ian, how do you get such good lighting on your camera?
I have a lighting team, a whole lighting team just for the community council meeting. So yeah, I mean, at first I had the same people do my lighting as the folks who do my makeup. But ever since I had a dedicated lighting team, yeah, things have just really shaped up. No, I've got a window. There's a porch right outside that has natural light coming in, and then I have a light right above me. What's up, Travis? Hi, Thea.
Oh, big crew tonight.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Vincent.
Hello.
And hi, Angie. I don't know if Sam's there with you or if it's just you.
Shall we sort of pretend to start this show? You know, I'm going to pretend we have an agenda, like just sort of general public comment, and then move on. Ian has a couple of motions he wants to make, so he'll lay out those and discuss them. And then after that, I'd like to hear a report on the walkabout with the city manager and others yesterday. Is there anything else we need to add to this tonight? That it? Okay. By the way, I can only see 4 of you at once. So if you want to do something and you got your hand up, like Annika or Ian will yell at you, just go. Okay,
right.
Does anyone have any public comment? Yeah. No public comments? Okay, Ian, you're up.
Great. I just messaged Anand because I want to make sure that he's here as well for the Oregon Health Authority grant. So he'll hopefully be joining pretty soon. I know that he's pretty spent after his days at work. This motion is one that Travis and I are bringing on behalf of the Whitaker Community Art Team. So can folks see the motion here? It's just like a couple of sentences. I got a thumbs up. Can folks see this, or should I just read it?
Yeah.
Folks can see it? Okay, cool. So we wanted to bring a motion for a discussion and a vote on the Whitaker Community Council applying for the Art in Public Places Call to Artists Temporary Public Artwork Request for Qualifications. So an RFQ is city speak for a request for qualifications. And all that they're asking for is having a sense if you as an organization are qualified to be able to apply for a specific grant. So it's kind of another hoop to jump through in this process of the city selecting organizations to be able to respond to a bigger project. So the budget for this project is $10,000, and it's going to be at the future riverfront development site on Mill Street near downtown, where a public park will be, as well as market rate housing. And what they're asking for is a series of art pieces on the fence around the site, and I'll show you kind of what a picture of it looks like. But it's pretty simple. It's just a chain link fence that's kind of around the site right now. It's going to be around the fence site for about 2 years. So I'll just share my screen again really quick so you can see what it looks like. So this is the riverfront construction site, It's here's Mill Street right there. There's 4th and High, and this area is going to be the future site of the riverfront park and some housing, as well as the I forget, the power station development, which is going to be there as well. It's paid from the Riverfront Urban Renewal District by the city of Eugene. And what the RFQ is trying to do is be able to see organizations that can do a couple of things. They want to be able to have public art around this fence that uses reusable, recyclable materials with an afterlife, that can integrate into the chain link fencing pretty well. And the fence itself consists of 3 sections that are approximately 800 feet each. So the artwork, I've already bored Brad so much, he's running away. The art pieces don't have to cover the entirety of the fence, but at least be able to cover sections of the fence. And there's a couple of pieces that are into the evaluation criteria. One is artistry, so aesthetic appeal, the techniques used, the materials used, and there has to be a philosophic approach to placemaking with a diverse public space. This RFQ is just going to allow the city to choose a couple of finalists, and 3 finalists are going to be chosen to create a proposal. And the proposal is just, the city paying each of the organizations $400 to be able to write a proposal that may have kind of a model, maybe a mock-up of what we would create larger. And if we did end up getting the grant, we would have to create a larger budget and do a contract. So some of the conversations we've been having at WCAT are working with the Eugene BIPOC Artist Collective, which is a group of artists of color that are both representing indigenous groups, Black folks, as well as other artists of color, and bringing them in for a joint proposal. But really what we want from the board today is just a discussion by board members on specific questions, as well as kind of permission to hunt. So for us to be able to put in an application to the city. The application doesn't guarantee us funding, or it doesn't guarantee us that we'd be selected for that group of 3 finalists, but all it does is it kind of puts our foot in the door to be able to maybe submit a application later on if we're chosen. We haven't gone to the Eugene BIPOC Artist Collective because we wanted to go to the board first and make sure that we answered any questions or addressed any concerns before we tried to bring in additional partners for this. The city's excited about the WCC putting in an application. We have a history of being funded by the city for projects, so that's something that is working in our favor. And also we have one of the artists who would be acting as the lead artist. His name is Josh Sands, who's been with the Whitaker Community Art Team for a couple of years now, who's willing to work as the lead artist on this project because he has a couple of higher ticket projects above the $1,000 threshold that they'd need to see if we were to submit an application. So just kind of wanted to bring it for conversation and see if anyone had questions or comments, concerns, and then bring it to a vote if nobody had any comments or questions.
Good. Shall we vote on it?
Well, I'll ask a question. This isn't even in the Whitaker. Why is the Whitaker Community Council getting involved? That's an interesting question, Ian. I think that we should export our art and export our artists to different parts of the city. I like that the idea of the Whitaker having a bigger footprint outside of the Whitaker neighborhood itself, and that we feature art from artists inside the Whitaker, outside the Whitaker too.
See, here's where your being a newcomer is showing. That used to be part of the Whitaker.
Oh,
we're just reclaiming it. We used to wrap all the way along that area.
There are no bad art projects. Of course, we'll support it.
Yeah.
So Ian, do you want that to be like an art ambassador, where we're sending art ambassadors back from the WIT to other areas to kind of champion about bringing them in locally, but then also showcasing other folks outside?
Absolutely. And part of it too is kind of building our cultural brand in the Whitaker. I want people to come here to support Whitaker-based artists, but also support businesses featuring art from Whitaker artists. So this kind of ties into our art walk that we got funded by the Lane Arts Council, and it brings a little bit more cultural cachet to our neighborhood that's already known for having artists. But something we kind of get from the arts community in Eugene is that there's no serious art or serious artists in the Whitaker. So I love the idea of having the Whitaker community art team featured in another neighborhood, because it kind of brings attention. I didn't even realize that it used to be the Whitaker, but it kind of brings attention that there are serious artists, working artists that live here in the neighborhood. So the pieces by themselves, if we were selected, I would have a sense of placemaking that brought it to what the community of artists in the Whitaker look like. I don't know if Stephen is one of the 4 people that Brad can or can't see. So yeah, Stephen, I saw your hand up, and you're muted too, and I can't read lips that well.
Travis go before me, since he's one of the ringleaders?
I think that it's a great opportunity for WCAT and Whitaker community artists to work with the city and show them that we can accomplish some larger projects, and also bring some cultural equity to the neighborhood and to the city itself.
Stephen?
My comment was going to be semi-serious. This kind of project would support a name change of the neighborhood to the Left Bank neighborhood, like in Paris with the Rive Gauche.
Yeah, I think we got that.
Yeah, I think that's not happening right now.
So Ian's brought the motion. I'd like to second the motion.
Good for you.
Okay.
Anybody else?
All right. Any more discussion?
No.
Katie here. I think it's a great idea.
Okay. All right. Well, all in favor? And Annika, you're up for this. Count them.
I'm a verbal aye.
Okay. I think all we need is like a majority of the board members, right?
Yeah, and we do
Any
four
opposed?
6 people.
Nice working.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. It's due July 25th at 5 p.m. So we're going to be working. I've got a meeting tomorrow with the Eugene BIPOC Artist Collective.
Cool.
And so I will ask them if they want to be involved. And then after that, I would be the project manager on the grant. So responsible with working with Katie and Chris to be able to execute any agreements and do any of the finance stuff. So I'll keep everyone posted as we submit this, in case I need to bring together a small group of folks like Chris, Annika, or Katie as the board officers on any documents and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, let's hear about the COVID grant.
All right. It's official, folks. We just got an email from the Oregon Health Authority community engagement team letting us know that our organization has been approved for outreach, education, and engagement to the tune of $29,100, and that we're going to receive an additional $5,265 in startup costs for the initial 3-month period of the grant, which is lasting from July 1st to December 30th. There's a couple of forms that we need to fill out, an FFATA form an RA tool, and a direct deposit form. So Katie, I wanted to work with you, or I guess I want to say Anand and I wanted to work with you directly to be able to figure out the financing piece of it, because we need to submit these forms pretty quick. And then Anand and I have a meeting with the folks from OHA on Monday. Anand, they just got back to me earlier today about times to meet. But what I really wanted to open it up to the conversation first is opening it up to Anand, because he has kind of the history.
Let's move this guy behind me. Back off a little bit. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm unmuted.
Drive safe, Katie. They know that you're the treasurer. They're coming after you. Yeah, I wanted to open it up to Anand first before opening it up to other people for comment, because I wanted to have some input from people. We said that we were going to do outreach for specific areas, including newsletters, social media, flyers, sandwich boards, billboards. And the third pages, the ones Annika suggested, these thin kind of bookmarks to be left around. But in the response they gave to us, Anand, and we just got this less than an hour ago, it said that although you indicated that you would like to conduct contact tracing, your organization has not been approved at this time. Currently, OHA is prioritizing the work of contact tracers for those organizations who have identified having trained community health workers or certified healthcare interpreters, which I would say that, you know, you fit both of those criteria, and your proximity to our, what's the acronym for it, Anand? The
Local Public Health Authority.
Yep.
LPHA.
Yep. So I was thinking, Anand, you know, you and I could talk about this with the OHA on Monday when we have the meeting, but I wanted to pass it to you first to kind of open up the conversation around kind of what you've heard from Lane County, and also if we should push them on Monday to include contact tracing, because it seems really important, and I think that we definitely have a role to play before we open it to the larger conversation about how we should talk about using the money.
I think the greatest concern that the local public health authority, Lane County, is concerned about is communication. They're very concerned that if there's going to be anybody doing contact tracing in the area, that they stay in really good communication with them. And I guess from that point of view, we can probably do that as well as anybody else, because I'm right there in the office. So that seems to be their main thing. Now, mind you, that has not been my primary training. I've had some training as far as that goes, but I mainly do the clinical work, so the other nurses can go do all the contact tracing and stuff like that. But I'm right there in the office. I get all the paperwork, right? And you know, I know the basics. They've got scripts which I can send you, which is basically the nuts and bolts on how it's actually done, right? So I don't know how much of that they want to consider. Here's the other thing though, is since I'm mainly the public information person, I'm the one who's distributing. I'm not actually the one who's going to be doing the contact tracing that much. What we need to do is find other people who can do that and train them. The question is, who's going to be doing that? Now, the one thing that is true is I am not certified to train people to be contact tracers. You actually have to have people to do that. And if you remember the letter that Cindy, my boss, wrote, she was assuming, since this is an OHA thing, that OHA would actually be doing the training.
Right.
So I don't know where that's going. We would have to ask them.
And I think we can ask them on Monday. You know, that's because
what time is that meeting?
I will forward it to your Katie.
Wow.
Well, I did have a question. Does this mean that, oh gosh, that we're going to have?
Well, you know it's Whitaker.
I can't ask my question. That we're going to be having payroll and paying people on a payroll?
So we need to have these questions answered on Monday. I imagine we would I-9 them and they would act as independent contractors.
I see.
But yeah, I mean, these are all questions
Okay.
to talk about on Monday.
The one thing I can guarantee you is I cannot take any money. That can't possibly happen for a variety of reasons. So just keep that in mind.
So Anand, the meeting is from 11 to 11:30 on Monday. And
That should work just fine.
great. And then after this meeting, I don't know if you have any time, you and I can just quickly kind of talk about the questions that we should ask. And I'll take notes while people are talking here. So I kind of
Sure.
write down the list of questions.
The one thing I have to do on Monday is I have to get my wife to a physical therapy appointment at 2:15. But that shouldn't interfere with anything what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to open it up to folks for a conversation. Do people feel that we should push OHA for contact tracing? What questions do people have for Anand and I's meeting on Monday? And then in addition to those 6 outreach pieces we talked about, the billboards, the flyers, the sandwich boards, Instagram, the third pages, the kind of bookmarky things, and then newsletters, is there anything in addition to that we should consider for outreach and education? And I see Travis's hand up.
So, we already got sandwich boards, didn't we? Chris printed out sandwich boards.
Hanukkah, you're muted. Sorry. Hanukkah, you're still muted.
There are sandwich boards. They are not printed.
Okay, so we got
Thank you,
got them, but not printed.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Can we get money for hand washing stations around the neighborhood again?
We need to follow up with the city about that, honestly.
Because I think really like that's probably one of the most beneficial things that we could have just available to the community is places for people to wash their hands when they leave a store, or you know, say you don't have your hand sanitizer or whatever, you know, to be able to wash your hands is really important. You know, and have them in an area where they're not going to be abused. So I don't know. I think it's important.
Okay, so I can ask the folks at OHA what constitutes fundable activities.
Right.
If we were going to fund hand washing stations, I'd like to ask the city first, because they may be willing to update the hand washing stations. And actually, I'll ask them. Oh, I'll ask them soon. Thea, do you have a question?
I'm happy to ask them. I have a letter that I'm drafting to Sarah right now.
That's all I
Anand,
have.
do you have a question?
So, yeah, I just wanted to give a little piece of information. A few days ago, I heard on NPR that the CDC is very concerned that current contact tracing may not be as effective as they would wish, because some of the people they're trying to talk to aren't willing to talk back. And they were proposing, and I'm wondering if OHA is kind of like ahead of the curve with this. What they were proposing is that people from certain communities be hired to do the contact tracing for those communities, because they're thinking that people from those communities would be more likely to talk to somebody that they know. So I think that was the whole point behind this. And as far as us doing it specifically, again, it depends. If OHA is determined to have outside contractors doing contact tracing and not just the local county health authority, then having people organized around somebody who's got contact with that office is probably going to work better. But, you know, I don't know if that's really their focus or not. And that's something I expect we'll probably find out on Monday.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. So your question would be, you know, our approach is to have members of the communities that we identified, unhoused individuals, elders, and renters,
Right.
be from our community because they're reaching out to those high-risk populations.
So it would probably be a really good idea if we had some people from those groups who are interested in becoming contact tracers, or at least some idea who could be trained properly, right? I mean, if anybody who's currently on the board is interested, it would be good to know. Or anybody else that we know of who's, you know, dependable. But I mean, how many people do we know who are currently unhoused who might make an interesting contact tracer? I don't know.
I thought that the people at the microsite on Washington and Garfield and Washington, or is it Cheshire and Washington?
There's quite a few different places we can take a look. Unfortunately, I was with Occupied Medical over at the Lindholm Center doing free medical care every Wednesday, but they threw us out. I had some good contacts there, but I don't have any contacts anymore. So that presents an issue. Although I might be able to come up with some through other Occupied Medical things. So that's a possibility. But then of course we need somebody who can talk for renters or talk to renters. And of course, since we also labeled seniors as something, a group that we wanted to contact, then somebody who's, can talk with them and get feedback. So all of those groups that we mentioned, we need somebody who's going to be able to do that and at least be able to assure OHA on Monday that we can find people of that sort.
Do the other board members or community members feel that we should push OHA that we're ready to do contact tracing? I mean, what Anand said is exactly correct. I mean, we submitted contact tracing as, I think it was our #1, because we wanted to be able to have members of these communities themselves be the voices reaching out to people, because they'd be more trusted than having folks who work with Lane County.
I will say we have had some problems with people not talking to us. Not a lot, but some. It has been an issue.
Brad, Thea, do you guys
Thea.
So I know that the course is about 6 hours and it's free. And if people get trained, they can be paid by other people later on.
Yeah.
So there's some incentive there to get trained as a tracer. I mean, I would do it, except for I can't go knock on doors. And that's part of the requirement, because I already looked into it.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, John Hopkins offers a free 6-hour course to anyone who wants to take it.
Yeah, I know about that one.
Well, Ian, you asked, are we ready to do this? And I don't think anyone's ready to do this.
That's true.
This is a once a century deal.
And
But
Christy,
we're uniquely situated to do it.
yeah. So Christy just messaged me. She had to step out, but she's a certified community health worker. So she's, part of our community. I think we should go for it. I don't think anything's lost from us pursuing it. To Brad's point, I mean, yeah, I think we're in this situation because no one's ready to do this, right?
But Whitaker's a very giving community, and I think you'll find people that are willing to step up if you get it.
Yeah, and so I mean, how do the rest of folks feel? Annika, Katie, Stephen, I see your hand up.
Yeah, it would need somebody probably on the board or close to the board willing to be the point person for WCC as the lead on the project. Not necessarily doing the on the ground people to people contact, but coordinating the people who are doing that, or recruiting and coordinating the people who are doing that. And I messaged Ian with a possible suggestion for somebody that might be qualified.
Yeah, so Anand is going to serve as the PIO, the Public Information Officer for the project. So he's the liaison between the board and the local public health authority. Did I get that right this time, Anand?
I believe so, yes.
Cool. With respect to the contact tracers, yeah, I think that's something that we got to talk about on Monday with the Oregon Health Authority, because they may have in their mind's eye, we need people like Christy, right? People who are, literally certified community health workers who can represent these constituencies. And if that's
that's the question.
if that's the case, then all we need to do is find members of our members of our community that have the qualifications necessary in the Oregon Health Authority's mind to be able to
I think one of the issues is the whole HIPAA regulations. They're probably going to want people who can understand, read about and sign off on those. It's pretty important. You're not going to be allowed to do the sort of information gathering that's required without that. So it's going to have to be people they think are going to be either already have HIPAA clearance or could get it.
Does anyone feel that we shouldn't go for the contact tracing piece, or we should pull back on that? Okay. Does anyone have any other ideas for activities that we can use outreach funds for?
Yes, I do.
Nice.
Yes, I do. So here's the thing. The important thing is, will people listen to the message, right? So the question is not necessarily the format, although that's kind of important. The question is, who's actually saying the message? So it seems important to make sure that the message is presented by a person or by people that the folks we're trying to convince will listen to. If just some random person says, medical authorities tell you you've got to do this and this and this and this, people who aren't really interested aren't going to listen to that at all. If you're really trying to convince people, you need to find out who they're going to listen to. I would actually do a survey. I would start off trying to find out who the groups are listening to. The two biggest groups right now that are causing problems are partying young adults and people traveling, right? So I don't know about the traveling folks, but the folks who are partying, we can do a survey of people of that age group in our area, or if we want to expand outside of Whitaker, that could be done too, and find out what sort of people. I mean, we would have to design a survey that was going to pinpoint what we were looking at, but I think it could be done. I think if we could find out if there were any local sports people or local arts people or local whoever it is that they would listen to. Somebody suggested if you could find out the radio station they like to listen to, maybe one of the DJs or something is somebody that they would listen to. I don't know, but there are lots of possibilities. I would try to find out who they're going to listen to before you necessarily design a whole program of what it is we want them to hear. That's what I would suggest. Or not.
No, I totally agree. I love the idea. And focus groups too. Travis, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think it's worth the discussion, and the worst thing they could say is no. So, they'll be like, no, you just can't do it. But you should discuss that in the meeting and definitely find out. And if it's something, a possibility that we can work on and come up with a model for, I think that's awesome. If not, then we should look at other resources to preventative measures and help people who don't have the access to certain things that are preventative measures, like masks, hand washing stations, hand sanitizers.
Sure.
Because I think the preventative, just having access for people to be able to wash their hands and not be in a situation to where there's a potential contamination. I think that's probably going to be the better thing that we could do. than going around and trying to source origins of something that has a 3-week, 4-week incubation period. So I don't know. But I think we should go for it.
When I was at the Red Apple the other day, there was a couple that were leaving, and as he got in his car, he said to her, "We can't shop there because we don't have masks." And I thought, a lot of places are passing out masks. It'd be cool if we had like a little kiosk or someplace somehow to give out masks to people.
That'd be very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't know. It's really interesting because now we have businesses have to institute mask police, and so they're paying another person to make sure that people are being conscious. Yet most of the businesses are still running at like half or a quarter of capacity and function. So it's like, it's a really hard thing when it comes to business. Like, you know, I haven't heard of any like more relief coming out for anybody. So, you know, I think if we could support local business and our community members in some way through this, I think that'd be really rad.
Stephen and Thea.
Ian, last week you mentioned that you were part of a group of sociologists that were working on messaging. Was that messaging that you were working on demographically targeted? Were you considering these different subpopulations?
So just to be clear, the group that I'm a part of is my day job. So I work at the University of Oregon for a social science research center, and we study the science of science communication. So the meeting on Monday is with members of the University of Oregon's incident management team and a group of social scientists from all around the university, some psychologists, some communication specialists, some folks from the School of Business. And it's really focused on how to be able to get some of those young people that Anand is talking about, the 16 to 24-year-olds who have been rather naughty lately and
yes, they have.
Yeah, causing Lane County's spike. So the specific focus is on how to be able to create messaging for that group on campus, specifically University of Oregon students. Because if the University of Oregon isn't capable of having students come to the university in the fall, there's a real risk that the university could be in very, very dire financial straits. A lot of the university's student body is international students and out-of-state students. So I don't know if you all saw the executive order that came out that Immigration and Customs Enforcement is going to withdraw student visas if they're only doing online work. So it's, yeah, the university has a vested interest in making sure that 18 to 24-year-olds aren't naughty. So the conversation on Monday is mostly just about how does the university leverage its faculty expertise and kind of communication design, strategic messaging, branding, and outreach to be able to help the incident management team that's made up of folks in risk services, the chief resilience officer, safety, just different administrative roles, and University of Oregon communications work together to make sure that the university is using the latest research to make sure that students are not ignoring guidelines from the CDC. So I'm meeting with my boss on Thursday, and I'm going to tell her about this grant, and then I'm also going to talk about the opportunity for how other neighborhood associations around the city can help message, because I think there's a lot of overlap between what the university is trying to do and some of the city's interests in stopping the spread of COVID. But I don't know how interested she's going to be in the overlap. Anand, you've got a question?
Yes, I actually am wondering, have you heard of the Truth Campaign? It was an anti-smoking campaign. It was actually designed by younger people to talk to younger people.
Yeah, totally. I've seen the ads and stuff.
It was one of the most effective anti-smoking campaigns they ever came up with, and it was mainly because it was designed by the people it was supposed to communicate to. So that's something to keep in mind.
Totally. Annika, you have a question?
You're muted.
There we go. Okay, that was weird. No, I was just saying Thea had her hand up earlier.
So I am making masks and I am giving them away. My sister and I have been taking them to the mission and I have offered them to Tom. I'll go talk to him and see if he wants them for his customers that don't have them. And Chris was going to take some out to some of the camps. So if you know of anybody that needs a mask, I'm happy to give them a mask.
That's great.
And you can put a filter in them.
Does anyone have other ideas for either the contact tracing portion of the grant, if we were able to receive it, or the education outreach and, oh gosh, what is it called? Education outreach and engagement piece? Brad, I'm surprised you're so quiet. You're so active on this issue. I thought you would be running the show.
Actually, it's hard. I've got a bandwidth issue going on here, so I'm getting the choppy sound part. But it's okay. So far, I like what I hear.
Stephen and Christy?
For those that are sociologically minded, there is a good NPR feature within the last couple of days of what people can learn as they're enlarging their pod. As parents are planning play dates for kids, many of the communications that take place and many of the methods that can be used relate to how people do messaging and communication in polyamorous relationships. So there's a very interesting overlap there between polyamory and widening your pod.
So we need to find a zoologist.
We need to find what?
A sexologist.
Or a Mormon.
Christy?
Yeah, so not on that track. I think it would be helpful in terms of the 18 to 24 to try to identify some of the people that they follow online, because I have 2 of those in my house and they don't watch TV and they don't listen to a radio. They have Spotify, they have Pandora, and they stream everything else. So if we could also identify some of the local influencers, that might be helpful.
Absolutely. Does anyone else have comments, things they want to add? Okay, then Anand and I will touch base after this and then share the comments and questions that folks have on Monday. And if anyone thinks of something between now and Monday morning, you can shoot Anand or I a text or a message on Facebook.
So we're down to an update on the walkabout, right?
Oh yeah, I missed the walkabout.
Shoot, I didn't hear that.
In the art walk?
No, I think that's you, Thea.
Ian's going to start, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
He said no.
Yeah, you get to start, Ian.
So Chris and Thea organized, I think it was Thea that led the organization of it, a walking tour of the Whitaker. Thea can explain more about some of the intentions around it. We went to Territorial Vineyards, which is the Adams warehouse location, where we've talked about using the public right-of-way to put sanitary housing, talked about sanitary housing, and then we walked over to the micro site, and Chris talked about the need to expand the number of individuals we have at the microsite on Cheshire and Washington. Then we continued to walk around to the Rose Garden, and then Thea talked about the park camp host idea that she's had, and we finished up at Scober Gardens and did a little tour of the fence line there and talked about putting sanitary housing behind the fence line. I reached out to Christy, the assistant city manager, as well as Brooke in the city manager's office today about having a timeline for bringing the sanitary housing proposal to city council, to have the city council deliberate on it during a work session and then a vote. Mayor and Councilmember Siret were there and were supportive of the idea of us reaching out and getting more of the business community involved and engaged, and getting other council members engaged so they would have the protection they needed to vote on something like that. So that's all I got.
Sarah said that she would reach out to Tom. And so I spoke with Tom today from Bruns, and he's going to talk to her. Chief Skinner did reach out to him to come up with some ways to help them because it's been very difficult. They're going to change their windows. They're going to make their windows smaller so it doesn't cost them as much if it gets broken down. Sarah and the mayor were very interested in how we could get other neighborhoods involved as well. They'd love us to be the leader in this. They'd like us to do the legwork. Sarah asked me to reach out to LTD. And there is a group that Chief Skinner's working with. Just brain warped on the name, just a second. The Justines have a lot that they're willing to put a microsite on that will house quite a few people over on Garfield and Second. And so I did ask her on that. And then I also asked about using the fairgrounds. And she says she would, Sarah said that there would be a need for a lot of people to make noise and contact the Fair Board and the county commissioners to convince the Fair Board to use the fairgrounds for immediate housing. And we're at about 4,000 people right now that are unhoused. And we have to continue to, if we don't want people in the parks, we have to continue to call in Park Watch or go online to Park Watch. And very soon here, the governor will probably lock us back down, in which case, if that happens, wherever they're at, they're going to get to stay again. Their eyes were opened, but they were not very willing to verbalize. So we'll see. I'm working on a thank you letter to them. We'll see what happens. But they did move Jesus off the center divide.
When?
This morning.
He was back.
He was gone.
No, he's there again.
He's back. He's back this afternoon.
Yeah, I
Okay.
went to Red Barn and he's there.
Okay, he's back.
Yeah.
All right.
That's his spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got to see the people that were moved from 13th and 14th who had gone underneath the bridge. So they got to see the good and the not so pretty of our neighborhood right now. Did you get any other feedback from Sarah or the mayor? No, Claire felt it went very well. But I don't know what her thought of very well is. I'm still processing it, guys, because I'm just not sure. And Skinner has said that if we have anybody in the, because I met with him on Monday, if there's anyone in the islands that are doing anything illegal or you want trespassed out of your front yard, to continue to call those in. So it's kind of where we're at. I've been calling EPD every day. Yesterday was twice for the park, for what's happening in the park right now. I don't care if it's down by the river, but when it's next to the kids' playground, it's not okay.
Yeah.
That's about it. Angie has her hand up. Angie, did you have a question? There you go.
Sorry.
Unmute.
You said contact the fair board, and I didn't catch the second.
Oh, the
The
Lane County Commissioners.
The county commissioners, is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm going to reach out to Pat Farr as
And
well.
is there a way, I mean, I'm gonna write something up and share with my friends, like on Facebook, but is there a way we could expand that? Like maybe contact the commissioners and the board this way? Is that something we could do?
Yes, we all can as private citizens to say, they said there needs to be pressure put on people at this point. Because right now they're just moving them around.
I think she's asking if we
Right.
can write something up that can just be shared.
Oh,
Yeah.
that we can write something that we can share? Yeah, we could come up with something like that. I'm happy to do that.
If we could have talking points and the names of the people to contact and what their email addresses and phone numbers are would be helpful.
All right. I will
That's
reach out to Sarah and Clara and say, what would you like us to put in there?
Yeah. Thank you, Tia.
Mhm.
Okay. So we didn't solve homelessness yet.
No. I will tell you that Bruns actually was trying to put a couple of affordable housing pieces on their back lot, and they never heard back from the city. So I'm gonna ask about that in my letter. Because they were gonna try and make some little affordable housings back there.
Angie has her hand up again.
Thea, is that that write-up something I can help you with?
Sure, so let me put my email in the chat, Angie.
Thank you.
Mhm. Brad and
Yeah, my
Annika
sound is
and
almost not working.
Anon and all the board members, are
Yes.
you guys posting something about elections for board members, or are you just gonna wait?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything, or like, I don't think we decided on anything yet, did we?
You talked about it at the 2 meetings.
Chris was going to make an announcement so we could do an election. Like, I think he was looking for like something outdoors while we still have nice weather. Maybe we better work on the Facebook page and come up with a way to get an announcement out and get one done in 6 or 8 weeks so we can fix this.
Ian?
Jefferson Westside Neighbors is also doing a meeting of vote pretty soon. They just announced something on their page with a survey monkey survey, which I thought was pretty good because they want to be able to do something similar to what we talked about, doing an in-person meeting and a virtual meeting at the same time. So people who don't have access to computers or technology can vote with their feet in a socially distanced way, while people who can't be outside can do the online thing. And the other piece I wanted to say is that we should use this opportunity to update our charter because right now we're in violation of our charter. And I wrote down the things we wanted to integrate into the charter, which allows for, elections to be held completely online if they need to be, that allows for emergencies to give us the ability to postpone our charter vote if need be. Because right now we're just kind of in a gray area. But if we integrated this in and had a vote on it by people after we elected the board, or maybe before we elected the board. It would just give us the capacity to have a vote which is in line with our charter and kind of protect us in the future if we go back into lockdown or if something happens in the future too.
Good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're at the point that we can still add stuff and not have it be a huge issue. So, and let's see, Vince has his hand up.
Yeah, I reached out to I know we talked about going and meeting the guys down by the bridge and trying to establish like a chain of command over there and feed them. Burrito Brigade is 100% down. We just need to give them like a specific date. So I don't know if we want to come up with a date today or do that offline, but yeah, just let me know.
The camp at First in Washington is cleared and totally cleaned up. So there are a few still under the bridge at Washington, Jefferson. Not many.
So we kind of missed the boat on that one.
A majority of them, sorry, I lost my video, but I'm still here. A majority of them moved over at the bottom of the Chambers overpass. Railroad, when you go around to go up on the Chambers.
It's on Railroad Boulevard, yeah, across from the storage there.
Christy, you may need to log out and log back in. For me, you're breaking up a lot.
Okay.
So is that something that we're dropping then, or are we going to try to continue the effort over by the Chambers underpass?
What?
Well, I don't hear anybody saying anything, so I will say that some of the feedback I heard from the neighborhood, both sides of it, was why are we trying to even deal with the people that are really human trafficking, drug users, thieves stealing, stuff from the neighborhoods, when we should put our energy towards the people that are trying to and want to get help. I'm passing that on, not necessarily how I feel. Travis, go ahead.
Unfortunately, when it comes to the unhoused, these people are all lumped together in one group, the unhoused. And I really think the EPD should be focusing their attention more on the human trafficking and the drug use and the thefts than they should be just playing whack-a-mole and moving people around constantly. Apparently there's a street crimes unit that was created. I don't know why they're not doing anything with the human trafficking or the drug issues. I mean, they know who these people are. I don't know why. That's a question for EPD. I think more so than, because there's a difference between people who are just trying to survive and have nowhere to go or no resources, or don't think they have any resources, or they're mentally ill, versus people who are utilizing that lifestyle to be criminal. And I think that's a huge difference between those people. And I don't think that's as a community, it shouldn't be our job to segregate and separate these people. That's what law enforcement is for. That's my opinion.
So Travis, just to let you know, Street Crimes was on that group on Jefferson. And I am still waiting to hear back whether they made any arrests or not. But they were on that group. I don't know whether they made any arrests or if they just moved them on. But
I mean,
I do know they were on them.
you know, I see 4 officers harassing one person who's living in a tent, and I feel like that's a huge waste of resources. You know, like how many officers did it take to arrest Charlie the other day because he was having an episode? You know, those officers could have been engaging in more beneficial harm reduction to our community versus one individual who is known to have mental issues.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that that's a problem for EPD and not really for us. And I think EPD needs to get their shit together.
Yep.
And not just go after everybody, whoever's
right now,
getting complaints.
And
We
right
all
now,
know
Street
it's
Crimes is
happening.
also dealing with the protests. So that's the other thing.
By macing people and shooting them with rubber bullets, that's a great way to handle police violence protests. Everybody on my house got maced, sitting on their porch, listening to music. I don't know. I don't think that was a really effective use of police force or taxpayers' money. And I think that they need to really revitalize or revision what the EPD is doing in our community. Are they levying and are they taxing people? Or are they actually trying to solve crimes and put away criminals? People who are human trafficking and stealing, you know, because that's not being addressed. They're just looking good, pushing people around. I don't know. I'm not happy with it as a community member. That's my opinion.
I'd like to jump in there.
Do it.
Well, I think first of all, you have to realize EPD responds to complaints. And so we are just basically doing what people are asking us to do. And as far as those other things, Travis, we're working those cases. You know, people are doing the best they can. Waiting to hear, you know, Street Crimes is involved with that. We don't respond unless there's complaints, and oftentimes it takes several complaints before we respond. So it's because people are complaining about it. And that's, you know, that's why we're responding.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but also, as we've had people talking about the emergency response and the 911 people who are handling multiple counties, I feel like we're not actually addressing crime as it's happening. We're just putting grease on a squeaky wheel. The people who complain about whatever, whether it's their noisy neighbors or a party down the street or somebody playing their radio too loud, like they're getting attention. Meanwhile, there's children being sold on our streets. And I think that's not right.
Well, I think you would be surprised. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I think you would be surprised at, you know, those cases that are being worked. And as far as, you know, some of these complaints, people are frustrated. You know, people are, you know, they're at their wits' end. And, you know, it's not just, you know, we're responding to that. And we're doing what the community asks us to do.
In a way. But I mean, I feel like EPD and most law enforcement agencies are set in their ways as far as how they handle with the public. And I think that's why Cahoots is such a beneficial thing to our community and to our town, is that they're going out there, even though they're not funded well enough. We don't have enough vans going out helping people who are just having mental problems. Maybe they're just like really freaked out because of some episode, or they got too drunk or whatever. Like, police don't need to be dealing with that. We need to have people who are trained for psychological stuff. They, you know, I mean, police should be there arresting people who are breaking into people's houses, taking pictures or peeping Tomming or selling children or sex trafficking. I mean, that's what they should be focused on, and not just being like the answer to the complaints.
Okay,
You know, and I think that a lot has to do with the community involvement and talking to your neighbors and not just calling the cops about every little thing that bothers you. That's another whole issue.